And this is The Conduit. It is Monday, January 9th, 2023. Yes, you heard it right. It is no longer 22. You're going to make that mistake for a while. Start putting that 3 at the end. It is 2023, 48 degrees in Great Kitsap County. We do hope that your New Year's has started off well. I know that mine has started off quite busy. Before we bring Tony on, I just wanted to give you guys a few updates. As you know, the point in time count is coming up here on January 26th. And if you would like to volunteer, there is still a week left. Just go to www.cognitoforums.com/Kitsap County and it is right there. You can go ahead and click on that, and you can volunteer to be a part of the point in time count, right? With accurate counts, that is how we get resources into the community. And one, we need to know who we need to serve and provide resources to. Also, Project Connect 2023. Project Connect is back, which is fantastic and wonderful. A couple different things I want to share in regards to this. There is a drive that's going on currently through the, let me go ahead and just pop this up really fast for you. The hygiene drive is going on. Donations will be collected until January 21. There are 3 drop-off locations, Kitsap Community Resources, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at 1201 Park Avenue in Washington. You can also drop them off at Ride or Die, Monday through Friday, 12 to 5 p.m. At 2512 6th Street in Bremerton. And then Cutting Edge, Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 2556 Perry Avenue in Bremerton, Washington. They are collecting a lot of different things that are needed: hairbrushes, combs, washcloths, deodorant, sanitizer, toothbrushes, toothpaste, dental floss, mouthwash, bar soap, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, Q-tips, lotion, lip balm, condoms, tampons, and pads. Please support. This is so very important. And what's great is Project Connect is going to be taking part over the course of 3 days, coming up here in January 24th, which happens to be my birthday. Give myself the horn for that. So you will see me there. But they are also saying, hey, you know what? You can bring a lot of different items. As you know, it's been raining nonstop in Kitsap County for a while. Tarps, tents, flashlights, batteries, lanterns, backpacks, and sleeping bags. All of these things are very helpful and definitely needed in the community. So the first one, as I said, is going to be on Tuesday, January 24th in Posebo at Gateway Fellowship Church. The second one will be at the Salvation Army Wednesday, the 25th. And then the last one on that Thursday will be in Port Orchard at the Port Orchard Methodist Church. If you want more information, you can go ahead and contact Terry Schroeder at kitsapprojectconnect2000 at gmail.com. All right, so I want to make sure that I send this information out to folks as it is coming up. They definitely need your help and your support. So please go ahead and govern yourselves accordingly. All right. Well, it is the new year, and it is time for our digital newsletter with the executive director, Tony Ives. So let's go ahead and bring him on up. We are super excited to have him back. How are you doing, sir?
Thanks, Maran. Thanks for the applause. I'm,
Always.
I'm fine. I'm alive. I'm blessed, and I feel good about that.
Excellent.
You
Well,
know,
you know
some
what? It's a good
sometimes,
thing.
Marwan, that's the if you can say that, then that's a big deal.
That's the win, right?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
is the win. So tell me, how was your New Year's?
It was good. Um, Christmas was great. I did all the cooking for the family, except
What?
my sister made the bean pies, right? And you know bean pies, huh, Marwan? You got
You
that?
know what? I don't think I've ever had a bean pie.
Oh man. Okay. Well, one day then, and then um, and then New Year's, I actually went down to south of Portland and saw just one of my oldest friends, 30 years old. 30 years I've known her and her kids and her family, so that was great. Sometimes, like New Year's, you just stay at home, and 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 she gave me the full court press, coming down. So it was great to see the kids and hang out. They're not kids; they're 18, for God's sakes, right? And yeah, I knew them when they were in the crib. So
They'll always be kids to you, right?
yeah, I was telling them where their cribs were this last week. I was like, "Your crib used to be, or your crib was over there, right?" So funny talking to them. Anyway, time flies, and here we are in 2023.
So
How was
you buried the lead, right? You said your sister made the bean pies, but you did all the cooking, but you didn't say what you cooked. You gotta give us the goods. What'd you make?
the Christmas standard: turkey and the ham, and the greens, and mac and cheese, of course. And
Ooh.
yeah, it was killer. And I made homemade gravy, which was over the top, and stuffing, of course, and some other things. So it was really good. A lot of food.
So let me ask, are your greens spicy?
So the greens, my sister usually makes them, and she always complains about how I make my greens. Okay, so you know how family is, right? Cook them slow with not a lot of water, and let them simmer for a while. But yeah, generally like them spicy.
Good. Well, I'm glad you had a good holiday into the new year. And, we were talking before how it's just been super busy and crazy. And it's not even the 10th yet. We're not even the midway point, but it also seems like it was just the 30th of December. So give us an update. What's been happening with KCR in just this little bit of short amount of time?
Well, I'm going to just follow up on a couple of things you mentioned, the point in time count. So I participated in that last year, and that was pretty interesting. Jared is going to be the one running it this year, and doing things a little different over a few days, I believe, which hopefully will allow allow the county to have a much more accurate count, and to cover all the bases, so we're not rushed. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that if I can. So I encourage everybody to participate. Not only is it necessary, but it's informative and enlightening. Just to get out in the community and figure out what's up. So that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to mention was Project Connect. So that's a great project, and we're helping to facilitate that. I'm going to give a shout out to AAA, Victoria, who runs the office over there in Bremerton, and they always donate toiletries, and they do a collection throughout the year. And I went by there last week and picked up a bunch of lotion and Q-tips and all kinds of things, body wash, and just boxes of stuff, and brought them by our office for the event. I have some stuff in my car as well. You mentioned United Methodist Church. I had no idea that's my church, and I didn't know that. So yeah, so I know that there at the United Methodist, that's where the emergency shelter is. That's run by the county, so they use our space there. So that's pretty cool. They're really involved in a lot of things, and including advocating for shelters and for the unhoused community. So yeah.
So
Anyway,
critically important.
yeah, especially, well, all the time, especially now. So yeah, how was your holiday before we jump into KCR, Marwan?
Well, I I got COVID in,
Oh,
the beginning part of December into the mid-December, and then I had back surgery, and so that's how I ended the new year, or brought in 2023. So, you know, yeah, par for the course. It is what it is. We just keep on pushing, right?
yeah. I'm sorry about that,
Yeah.
but COVID, get it out of the way, all right?
Well, it's my 3rd time having it.
Oh,
Doctor Gibb came on from Kitsap Public Health, and, the last time it seems like I've always gone live with the podcast, and he's always come on. So he's kind of my uh, pseudo doctor, if you will, on all things COVID. So it's like, hey, doc, I got COVID right now. So what do I do? And so I'm getting it from the top doc in the county. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I like him. So, so at least for now, I'm going to start off with an update on the needs assessment.
Sure.
And it's kind of a segue because Dr. Gill and the staff at Kitsap Public Health, they're strong partners in this and in the data collection and the dissemination and interpretation of the data, both qualitative and quantitative. And then they're helping us write the report. And hopefully by the end of the month, end of January, we'll have something to distribute. Remember, we're creating a dashboard as well.
Mhm.
So people or organizations can go on and examine the data by zip code, by area, zip code where you work, by where you live, by demographic and ethnicity, and by a lot of other factors. In fact, I was talking to, I don't know, some other organization, Franciscan Medical, but out of Pierce County. This is just a few days ago, and she mentioned a smaller organization here in Kitsap County that I hadn't heard of, but they deal with children, and that executive director mentioned to this organization that they were waiting for the results of our survey so they can start developing their strategic plan. And I thought that
Wow.
was really interesting because that was the idea of it, that people could piggyback off of off of what we did, and that's why it was so important to get as many respondents as we could. So remember, we got over 4,500 respondents, and that was so key. That was so great. But we also did these focus groups. I'm gonna share my screen here for a second.
Yeah,
If I
sure.
can.
While you're sharing your screen, and what's so powerful about that for smaller organizations is, many of us don't have the infrastructure to do something like that on our own. So to be able to utilize the information that you're gathering and sharing is really powerful.
So we all thought it was important to do this qualitative portion of the survey too, because when you do a written survey, you're not really capturing everything,
Mm.
and this gives you more of a, I don't know, broad based view of what people really think. So our first one was a Spanish focus group. Second one, English. I don't want to say English focus group. It was community wide. And then the third one was another Spanish focus group. The fourth one was Spanish and mom. And there was a person who spoke English in the room as well. I remember that. And mom, remember, is one of the indigenous languages in Guatemala. And in Kitsap County, as you probably know, there's a strong mom community, Guatemalan community here in Kitsap County. Then the fifth one, we did another community wide focus group. Of course, a sixth one, we Jewel helped us put together a Kids of Black Student Union focus group that was well attended with parents and students, talking about a lot of issues. And generally, how we do these, we ask one or two questions, and then the conversation just basically evolves from there. So it's not a set standard. We just basically begin the conversation, try to keep it tight, and but the focus group really drives the conversation.
Well, it's their needs, right?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. It's not what we want; it's what the community wants and what the community needs. So that's always how we try to focus things.
I
So
like it.
the seventh one, remember, we went out to Suquamish and did one with elders and members of the tribe.
Hmm.
Josh Bagley, the vice chair, was there as well, from the tribal council, and that was really great. Then the eighth, we did. It was a Kids of Pride focus. We wanted to try to get a lot of people there, but I don't know. I think it was because of the time and the date that we scheduled that we only had a few folks there. The ninth one that we did was with unhoused community. There was about 35 folks there. It was really, really great. Um, all of the focus groups that we had, all of the sessions were fantastic. But
Tony, let
this,
me ask. Let me jump in really quick now. I was able to participate in quite a few of the focus groups, but I wasn't able to participate in unhoused. What were some of the things that were important to that community?
so there were 35 folks there, about, and there was there were some concerns. I'll just be straight up. So shelter is an issue, and
Mhm.
Marwan, just understand, some folks are just living right on the edge, just right there, where they can't afford the rent, or they're about to, get kicked out, or whatever it is. And they're just folks just like us, Marwan.
Mhm.
And and to see it and to hear that is important. And it's important to recognize it and try to find the solution for that if we can. Some of these issues, Marwan, we think they're just bigger than us, and sometimes they are. But maybe there's a way we can do this, at least in Kitsap County, as a resident of Kitsap County and as a member that cares. Then maybe we can do this instead of just talking about the idea of doing it. So
Absolutely.
shelter and housing certainly was one, but also healthcare, and just having access to it. But back to the shelter issue, there's one of the main shelters is about to close.
Yes.
um, that's a rumor anyway, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. We're trying to find the solution to that. Hopefully they stay open a little longer while we try to deal with that. Because if
Mayor
that,
Wheeler did share that at a city council meeting this last Wednesday, that the Salvation Army was closing that portion of their emergency shelter coming up here. Um, yeah, it's definitely a concern.
I must say, I'm talking to the mayor more than I ever have these days. I mean, he called me like this weekend, for God's sakes, right? Come on, don't call me. But but just talking about this, and solutions, and the support that the city council um, wants to give to these type of projects, any type of housing related project. So I respect that. And as long as Marwan, as long as we're pushing and driving this, then people are going to listen, including the city council and the county commissioners, who are great advocates of things, all things housing, and we just have to stay on top of it. So the city council, for example, they want to hear about this. They want more information. They want us to come and talk to them about this and initiatives and other things that are going on in the community. And so back to what you asked about some of the main concerns, I'll give you the third one, was transportation. And Maran, I think this has come up every single focus group, transportation. So if people are trying to get to the hospital or to a clinic, it's almost impossible. And on Sunday, just forget about it, right?
Yep.
And and there's only certain routes that run around here, and that was brought up as well. So I was so happy. It was such a well attended session. We only thought there were going to be a few people, and people just kept walking in, and we listened. We just sat there and listened. Chelsea kind of facilitated part of it, but mostly it was a listening session, and it was very cool. Then the last one was a NAACP focus group. Robert helped us put that together, and that was really great, and I really appreciate his help in that. Appreciate all the support, and we try to support the NAACP as we can as well. So there we had 10 focus groups, and now we are analyzing the data, trying to incorporate that doing some of the translation of some of the tapes that we had. For example, the Spanish and the mom tapes. We just helps someone's helping us do that, and and then incorporating that into the results, and so everybody can see them, everybody can analyze them, and then uh, use them as they need to for their own planning sessions. So so hopefully, again, last week of January, but probably the first week of February, I'll start talking about it. We'll probably do a webinar, and so it'll live on the web, so people can see the results and what you could use them for, the possibilities. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's tremendously important. Now, we've talked about the community needs assessment and the focus groups many times on the podcast, and I've asked you about, what was some of the feedback from some of the groups. What was some of the feedback from the Pride Kids at Pride focus group? We didn't talk about that at all.
boy, that's a good one. There were, I must say, it was youth that was represented, and they were talking about the schools with the LGBTQ community in schools and how difficult it was. Um, you know, just being represented, and that was an interesting session. So since it was youth, it had less to do with healthcare or housing,
Mhm.
you understand, and more to
Yeah.
do with really personal issues. And I thought that was enlightening. So remember, in our survey, we have all different age groups that you see in the demographic. Who's taking the survey, and also, if you wanted to respond, even um, you know, sexual preference or gender or whatever it was, we had an option for that as well. So yeah, each one of these focus groups were interesting. Some of them had intersections of topics, and some of them were just extremely unique. Marwan.
Well, I'm really appreciative of the fact that, typically in the survey, the kind of targeted toward adults, but with focus group 6 and 8, with the Kids at Black Student Union and the Kids at Pride focus group, there you have youth that are gonna age into adulthood in this community, and it's important to them. So seeking their input and listening to them, I think is a really powerful thing to do. So I just want to give you a shout out for that. That's fantastic.
Stop shouting out. It's okay. These are our leaders. These are our present leaders and our future leaders in the community, and it's important to listen as well. And just think about this. Even KCR, we're going to use this for our next 3 to 5 year strategic planning session. 5 years from now, it's going to be completely different, right?
Mhm.
Those leaders will have leadership roles. Hopefully, even look at some of our young congressional leaders like Tara and Emily, right? These folks are young, but now they're in a position to advocate and support us here in Kitsap County, right? So
Yeah,
all
that's
props go to them.
fantastic.
So the folks that participated in the focus groups really appreciated it, really do. And just going back real quickly to the unhoused one, it's easy to dismiss it. Um,
Mhm.
because it's not my problem, but it is all of our problems, frankly. So we have to
Well,
lift
and
every.
that's where the difference is gonna be made, right? Is actually seeking and talking and making the changes as a community together.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
think that's fantastic. I love it.
So that's a perfect segue to the next topic, which is this housing task force. So Marwan, we've been talking about this back in February. We kind of started this idea of getting everybody together, or as many people as we can that dealt with housing and housing related projects in Kitsap County, and then just sharing information. So back in February was something different. Remember my friend Joe Crane from St. Vincent de Paul? We were talking about it. We said, oh, let's get together. We'll invite people over to KCR. And remember, that was I was really on the job only like 2 months. I barely knew anybody here, but it was very well attended, and that was cool. And then, the year got busy, but at the beginning of December or the end of November, we decided to do another one and not wait. So that was at Rice Fergus Miller. We got together and started talking about it. And then an idea was basically germinated. Is that a word? That is a word.
I get
Uh, from
absolutely.
that meeting to do something much more, much 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 larger, and maybe it's aspirational, but I don't want to stop at just that. Aspire to do something. We wanted to put it into practice. So about a week ago or so, we did have another focus group. It was not focus group, excuse me, housing task force meeting, and there were probably 50 people between virtual and in person, including Doug Washburn, Kirsten Jewell, Jill Stanton, um, Brenda from the city councilwoman in Bainbridge Island. I mean, it was really, really well attended. Anna Mockler was there. The mayor was there, um, and then just housing Kitsap was there. It was really the idea of getting together and not competing for projects. Marwan, me and you have talked about this, but not competing for projects, developing the pipeline of what's happening in Kitsap County, finding the funding sources. Like maybe we have just this is our funding bank, and this is how we're going to do it, and these are the projects that are happening this year in 2023, and these are the priorities. These are the projects that can get done right now. The shelter, senior center, affordable housing, whatever it is. It's just a whole all of the umbrella of housing related projects. I mean, so I'm going to tell you a story.
Oh, please.
So we were just talking about this, again, aspirationally, Joe and Jill and and one thing led to another. I was at a I was at a there's a BIPOC group that I belong to. It's for community action executive directors here in Kitsap County, or here in Washington State. There's only five of us, right? We're a small group, as you can imagine. Right? So I mentioned this idea of what we were trying to do, and one of my counterparts down in Vancouver, her name is Vanessa Gaston. She says, "Oh, we've done this already." I said, "What? Really?" She said, "Yeah, about 5 or 6 years ago, we started the same idea, and Vancouver Housing Authority took the lead on it. They gathered everybody together. They had identified funding sources, identified by and for groups that they mentored through the process of doing their own projects and then spinning them out. And so she gave me the contact name of Vancouver Housing Authority, and Jill and I had met with them like an hour and a half, just running through ideas, realizing we don't have to recreate the wheel, and we can just piggyback off of other experiences. And this one was a good one. Within 5 years, they developed or built or bought 700 units, and they're not done yet. It's huge.
700 units?
700, Marwan. 700.
Wow.
In,
And
in
that's
this in this
wow.
short period of time, right? So Jill and I looked at each other because there's so much to learn. And so now we're going to develop these committees, maybe just three committees. One of them will concentrate on funding, one of them concentrate on advocacy, and then another one. And hopefully people will join it. So it's not one or two or three people doing the work, but we're doing it collectively. And then and then go from there, planning funding behind it. So I actually pitched this idea to the Department of Commerce. I was in a meeting with them 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and they loved it. They said nothing like this has ever happened in Kitsap County. And so I like that response because it means that the Department of Commerce would be behind us. You know what I mean? So we're not all going after the same grant, and Department of Commerce knows it. You understand, Marwan? That's kind of the
Mhm.
key. All right, here's our projects. Okay, Department of Commerce will fund this one, not just fund it partially. Then the department fund that one and fund that one, right? So we're all working together for the mutually beneficial goal. Marwan, call me crazy or soft-hearted or whatever, but this could be cool, um, and it won't solve all the world's problems, but um,
We got to start somewhere, and you have to do novel things, right? Got to do some things differently and do the good things that we do better. The
yeah, I
only way
hear
we're going to
that.
see the change that we want to have.
Yes, sir. So so that project is kind of taken on a life of its own, and we're trying to guide it along. So these next 2 or 3 weeks, it's important not to let it sit or let the momentum slip away, but to keep developing the committees, and dividing up responsibilities. So, especially like with funding sources and advocacy, I've already told the legislators this that we work with. I spoke with Senator Rolfus about this, and with Senator Randall, and with Representative Simmons about this. And so, in 2 weeks, there's a legislative session that I'm going to. Marwan, this week is the advocacy for that, and I've mentioned that to you over the weekend. So it's
Right.
important for everybody to hear about the need and what we're doing. And for legislators, they don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from you and from the people in this audience.
Well, my intention is to speak at that, and I will broadcast that out, and I'll even try to get out to Olympia on the same day that you're out there, and start to cover that. So we're going to be doing quite a bit of work in Olympia this year around transportation justice and transportation equity. So, and I've never done that before, so this is a
What are
good.
you doing? What are you doing?
Well, so we have partnered with Front and Centered, which is a conglomerate of nonprofits, kind of based. Well, we're based everywhere, but around energy justice and transportation justice, which is a big one for us. Kitsap Black Student Union is part of Front and Center. That's how we found out about it, and so one of those things is to really do some upstream initiatives where you're advocating at Olympia, right? You were mentioning it before, right? In the community needs assessment, almost everyone has mentioned transportation, and there is no bus service on Sundays. You'll see a post later on. I'm actually giving a ride to a client, which I haven't done. I haven't given a client a ride in probably 3 years, but she's really close to where I'm at, and she has to be at work at 11 p.m. And there's no bus at 11 p.m. to get her to work. They're raising her rent $300. She doesn't get to work, right? She's not able to pay the rent at its current price, but she definitely isn't going to be able to pay for it once it increases. And so, these things are really important. So we just want to advocate and, get folks thinking. They created this database where you can look and see how frequent, public transportation runs in BIPOC areas, and all this other really cool things that you can access now. So I'll be going and just advocating on behalf of those that don't have a voice. Sidewalks, which is a really big one, especially for our folks that are, in a wheelchair, right, and can't get around. So there's just a lot of importance around transportation equity. So I'll
Does
be speaking
does
to that.
Tara and Emily know that you're coming to that?
No, no, they actually do not.
Well, now they do, right? Hey, you guys, listen to this. All right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Tara's a big supporter of the conduit. So
Okay, good, good. Well, okay, that's cool. So, so on that topic, there were the executive director for the Washington State Community Action Programs reached out to me Friday and over the weekend, and they wanted to find out folks that would advocate for projects and for
mm,
things that we believe in. And remember, the governor last year approved a proviso that basically $7.3 million for BIPOC or underserved related projects, right? And and the governor wasn't going to do that. He wasn't going to re-up that this year, and so far still hasn't committed. So we're trying to put the full court press behind behind our behind the initiative with the help of our communities. So I reached out to Harriet Banks, from House of Hope,
Mhm.
and she just opened up her house over in Port Orchard. She has three young women now there. I don't know if you know this, Marwan, but and we helped her in some ways with permitting and some of the remodeling that needed to be done to get the house open. And then also she participated in the grant writing class and just submitted a grant a week and a half ago, which is capacity building. I keep talking about that. I'm serious. It's so cool.
Mhm.
Um, and even if the grant fails, hopefully it won't. But it's a start. It's a learning process, right? But Harriet agreed to talk about her project and talk about the importance of this. And if we can get some more money, that would be great. The second one, I talked to Akuye about
Mhm.
the latch and the African American artifacts, just beautiful things that used to be just stored in a garage or in boxes kind of outside. And we put them away into a heated storage unit, hopefully for 2 years now. And now I know she's just started working with Olympic College. We're trying to catalog that, and we're going to be trying to support that project as well, right? Because history is important, and Black history is super important. And I remember going over there and just looking through some of the old pictures, early 1900s, and there was a journal. It was a treasurer's journal from the NAACP in like 1934 here in Bremerton, written in this just beautiful cursive writing and explaining it was a committee board meeting, and it was just fascinating to see it, right? Um,
Mhm.
and that's history that you just don't want it to disappear. Just consider it's 2023, and that was 1934. So
Yeah.
we're almost 100 years later, and those boxes are still there. Do you know, Marwan? Do you know sometimes when you move and you put stuff in storage, and then you for whatever reason you leave it there, or it
Mhm.
disappears? You know what I'm talking about, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's happened,
absolutely.
and then years later you go, man, I wish I would have paid that bill, or I wish I could have figured out that, or I wish I just didn't leave it, when at the time it doesn't really seem important, but it really is important because it's your history. Anyway, that's what we're with Latch. That's what we're going to try to do. And she's advocating for that. Um,
That's fantastic.
I know. And we're trying to support one of your projects as well, the transportation project, which is great. And frankly, Marwan, when you have the time, me and you have been talking about the conduit and how important it is. And we just need to put it together so it's sustainable. So this serves the community, and I appreciate it, and I know other folks do too. And when you advocate, I'd like you to mention the conduit and the
Okay.
message that goes out to the community, okay? Because
Yeah.
it's important, and KCR will publicly support that project, okay?
Well,
So,
I'll tell you what's happening. Come the first week of February, we are going to start recording our new series that will air on BCAT, and that is to capture the stories of our elders in the Black community. So,
right.
kind of the digital side of what Akuye is doing. And of course, if we're doing something that has to do with history, Akuye's fingers are in there. So, we're going to go and capture those stories. We have been losing a lot of our historians and our elders in the Black community. It seems like there's a funeral every week that's been happening here in Kitsap County. And so we want to document those stories and that history. And so we have the studio reserved up at BCAT. And so we're going to start recording in February.
I'm actually gonna go out to BCAT. I haven't been out there, but on Wednesday, uh, Carrie Bozeman invited me to come out and talk about this. I should have just told him, I don't need to come. Just turn on the conduit. but it was kind of cool to go out there because it's important to talk about these projects and these. Do you see the chat? What's going on, Marwan?
Oh, let's see.
My
Ooh, sorry about that. So
Marwan,
when you, start getting a little bit larger, these things happen. So, apologies, folks.
don't don't
Thanks
don't hit it. Yeah.
thanks to all of our real viewers that are watching. We even have, Twitch viewers watching today, which is fantastic. So our gamers are tuning in today.
So yeah. So as far as the advocacy is important, and whenever somebody asks me to pick up the phone and call our representatives, I do that, or write a letter, I do that. And I know our representatives have written letters for us, for KCR, for our projects, and it goes a long way um, with the Department of Commerce when they see a letter from one of your senators
Mhm.
or one of the commissioners or the mayor, about a project, so they know that we're not alone, but that we have community support behind it, right? So I'm a big believer in advocacy. I never really thought about it before until I came here, and now most people don't. Most people don't even. It doesn't even cross their mind. But I must say, having real life stories are the key to getting things done. Uh, they don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from you. So okay,
It's tremendously important. But I wouldn't say that you haven't been doing advocacy. It's just a lot of the work is one-on-one advocacy, right?
yes, sir.
You've been
And
advocating the whole time.
yeah, and it's true. And that's I say that, but that's not actually true. I all my life I've been doing this type of stuff. It's just not so public, but it's kind of behind the scenes, right? Um,
Mhm.
so I'm going to segue again. So Marwan, I appreciate you going and speaking. That's going to be great, and maybe I'll see you in a couple weeks in Olympia. Okay. So I was just mentioning advocacy. I'm supposed to be in Honduras next week. Um,
Oh, really?
uh, yeah, this trip
Actually,
is
I know
planned.
that.
This trip is planned like 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
COVID got in the way. And then last year I couldn't come because I had just taken this position, and this here I have to either go or try to reschedule the trip. But pretty soon I'm not going to be able to do that. I'll just have to lose it. So I really want to go, but this particular trip, I helped start a coffee cooperative that is now a foundation. They do about 100 million in revenue now. We have about 350 employees throughout the region when it's just started out with 12 of us, like back in 2004. And the story, it's a good story. I was going through the area, and I met the brother of the friend of a mayor. Man, I'm speaking in English like I'm speaking in Spanish. And he knew me, and I didn't know him. Anyway, we got to know each other. Took me to one of the coffee farms and just talked about this idea of establishing a cooperative of farmers. Now, that within a year, we went down to meet with the Japanese embassy, basically, like USAID. They gave a
Mhm.
they gave some funding and some education, and now we have 1,500 farmers that are part of the cooperative. It's all fair grade, fair trade, organic, shade grown coffee with no chemicals, and we started that. Proud to say, and it's also become a really good project. So I have advocated all my life, really, and that was a big one. So I hope to come back. I hope to go down, and I hope to. If I do, Marwan, you'll get some coffee from me because I usually bring
Ooh.
about 100 pounds back with me. But
Oh, man. I am a coffee connoisseur, sir, so I will be very, very honored and very thankful, if you do bring back some coffee. You can see the smile on my face. I got into roasting for a little bit, and then it was just too taxing, but I love a good cup of coffee.
there was a woman in this area called Marcala La Paz, and this was before we had our own roasters. And she was the best roaster in the area. And I remember going over to her little house, very humble, but everybody knew that she was the one, right? So I hung out. She
Mhm.
roasted some coffee for us, and that was really, really cool. But yeah, I'm a big fan of coffee too, and a big fan um, of community. You know,
Yeah. Did you
so
say
I,
1,500 farmers?
yes, sir.
Wow,
1,500
like,
farm.
I just wanted to make sure that was stated because you speak you're so, understated. You're not braggadocious, right? So it's like 150, 15? No, 1,500, 1,500 farmers. That's huge. You're getting a horn for that whether you like it or not. That's a big deal. That's a big
Okay.
deal.
Okay. Thanks. So, a couple years ago, when I was down there, it's so funny. There was a guy, and he was American, and I was listening to him. He was at another table, and we were at one of the. There's a small hotel that the co-op runs, and so finally I got up and introduced myself, and he was telling the story about how the cooperative came together. I said, "Hey, can I hear this story?" And he heard it. He says, "Yeah, Freddie said, this started out with like 12 people. It was actually seven. I had to correct him. And he's like, these people." I said, "Yeah, that was me, right? I was part of that original group." And it was so funny because he's a member of the Rotary. He built schools down there, and told him I was coming down. And we actually did a project together through another organization called Amigos de Honduras. We bought an ambulance for one of the regions with Red Cross,
Oh,
right?
wow.
It's really cool. Yeah, so I'm going to go down and see that as well, hopefully when I get down there. So
So we don't have to
anyway,
go into it today, Tony, but I have a question for you. Is there a way, or can I put on your mind some kind of ideas to activate this community to do some community gardening, some urban gardening? I think it's something that we really need when we think about food insecurity here on this peninsula.
I don't know. I mean, even though I helped to do this, I was really the facilitator. I mean, farming isn't my deal. I'm a I'm a business guy or a community developer, right? You know what I mean? But this
But
is
how did you
something
get everyone thinking together?
because I'm an advocate, right? And no, 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 no. It's funny because I don't know, Marwan. Sometimes I've fallen in these situations where I'm connected, and and I don't know quite how that happens. So I knew the folks at the U.S. Embassy down there, and I knew the folks in development, and and they knew that I knew them. And so when I was literally passing through this town, and I was only going to stay there for a day. And he's like, "Oh, let's go down to the Capitol. Let's meet with these guys. You need to come with us, right?" And to
Mhm.
pitch the project, right? And that's what happened. So, you know, one thing falls into another. And that's why we have this opportunity here, Marwan. Like, even with the housing, there's money out there to be had. Let's organize ourselves. And if you're BIPOC, man, hallelujah, you'll get more points for that, in the grant proposal. I'm serious. I don't want to
Mhm.
let this once in a lifetime unique opportunity pass us by. Anything housing related, let's all get together and try to figure it out. And if there are community ideas that maybe KCR doesn't do, but there are other partners that do things, that we all collaborate together. So we're not doing the same things, right? Everybody gets their
Well,
strengths.
and two things I just wanted to say about that's really important. Speaking earlier, for those of you that are applying for grants or thinking about getting into applying for grants, understand you're going to apply, apply, apply. You're not going to get every grant that you apply for, but it's practice, right? And you get better and you get feedback. But it is volume, so you have to kind of get it out there. So don't feel like hey, I put this in and I didn't get it. Don't be discouraged by that. And then the other thing I was going to say, Tony, was you're talking about coming together for this housing piece. And another really positive thing is you're saying, hey, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's take advantage of it. Well, the advantage on the other side of it is now you've built a new infrastructure of folks that are already on the same page and thinking the same thing. So if something else happens in the future, then these cooperatives have already been built, and we don't have to scramble to try to build them. So I like to be a glass half full type person and see the opportunity in all things.
Well, as the county comes together in February, Kitsap County, Doug and Jewel and their team, or Kirsten and their team, to just start writing the 5 year plan for housing. I mean, this is kind of perfect timing that we're all thinking about it and trying to do the same thing. And we have their support, and hopefully we're all going to participate in it as well. So
Absolutely,
what
I love
else
it.
can I say? I don't know. I don't know what else to talk about, Marwan.
Well,
But
I mean, you filled up an hour. We're at 55 minutes already.
like you said, it's January 9th, and I feel like, man, so busy, and there's so much to do, and sometimes you feel like you're just putting out fires. But at the same time, glass half full. There's so many things that could happen right now, very quickly, that can see a meaningful change in somebody's life. Right.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely, and there is need, and folks are working toward answering those needs, which is super important. Now, one thing I also wanted to add, and I didn't know if you knew about this, but this was sent to me through the NAACP. The Washington State Department of Health is implementing a state online assessment for youth to test creative concepts for a statewide tobacco and vaping prevention and cessation campaign. This is for kids or youth 13 to 17 years of age across Washington. It's an online discussion board. It only takes about 45 minutes. You got about 6 days left, and it's a $150 gift card. So this is great, kind of going into the new year, and a lot of folks could really use a $150 gift card. The parents can scan the QR code on the flyer, or they can call 888-348-8116, and they can reference Washington Teens Talk, or they can visit the link, which I'll put in the chat, and some emails here if you want to ask some questions. So just wanted to share that information as things come out. Also, want to give out a shout to the Kitsap Regional Library. Tax season is upon us, and so they will have some folks there to provide tax help. So check out krl.org. And the adult librarian Priya Chari, who is awesome. As you know, we do a podcast every first Tuesday, and she actually helped me to change my trunk struts in my car. So and that is what the library can do. All these fantastic things. It's so much more than just books. We think about it as just books, but here in 2022, 2023, the library is just doing some really fantastic things. So when I have to take it to a mechanic, I went to my librarian. She helped me out, and I actually did it live on camera in 7 minutes. So just really cool things that the library can do. So check that podcast out, and please check out one of the 9 libraries here in Kitsap County because they are fantastic.
I'm a huge fan. Lucretia sits on our board, and Jason. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the library, and I'll go in there and introduce myself to the various branches. Um, yeah, I believe in the library. My grandmother was a librarian for the Howard Law Library. Did you know
Oh
that?
wow,
That's
no, I
pretty cool.
didn't. That
Yeah,
is cool.
there's some history, and so we were always hanging out in the libraries when I was a kid. So they're important.
They really are. They're a treasure that we drive past or ride past or walk past all the time. Please go inside the library. There's so many cool things inside there. So anyhow, man, this has been really great. I'm glad that had some time to come on. I know you're super busy, but I love being able to do this digital newsletter so you can kind of share with the community what's happening, what's coming up, give them what's new in the zoo. And sounds like you'll be in Honduras, so you probably won't be on in 2 weeks, but we'll come back in February, which will be post Olympia, so we can have a conversation then. How does that sound?
I hope so. I hope I go. That's all I have to say. The work pulls on you, but yeah, God willing, or my friends say, Inshallah, if God wills it,
Inshallah. Well,
Inshallah.
if you have to take your computer and that allows you to go, then at least you kind of do a little bit of both.
Yes, sir. All right, Marwan. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your time. I always appreciate you, and thank you for doing the advocacy because it's important. And those folks in Olympia will get to know you. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Well, like I
Okay.
said, now I will broadcast that out. So for Tony Ives, I am Marwan Cameron. This is the conduit. This was the KCR Executive Director, Tony Ives, and the digital newsletter. We'll see you next time, everyone.